$18 million. That's the number you'll find if you go looking for what SpongeBob's house is worth. And mind you, that number came straight from Nickelodeon. The thing is, it came from a real estate listing parody on their YouTube channel. The one that calls the pineapple a postmodern tropical gem with 360-degree ocean views and 3 stories of nautical luxury. So, as much as I wanted to believe that number, I just can't. And nobody, as far as I can tell, has actually sat down and done this properly. Add up the building. Add up everything inside it. Adjust for the fact that this cartoon is 25 years old and money isn't worth what it used to be. So that's what I did. But then the real number I came up with is a lot stranger than 18 million. Partly because of what's in the pineapple, and partly because of where the pineapple is sitting. By the end of this, I think you'll agree SpongeBob might be the smartest real estate investor in Bikini Bottom by accident. I think we should separate the building itself first, or I should say the pineapple itself. See, SpongeBob got this pineapple as free in the episode Home Sweet Pineapple, so we technically could count this one as 0. But then there's also a few episodes about SpongeBob buying this house for the first time from the real estate lady. And then there's a lot of episodes where the houses are destroyed and rebuilt again. So I think we could count it as a one-time purchase and move along with it. The good news is Nickelodeon already did the hard part once, and this time they actually showed their work. In one of their videos, they ran an honest-ish appraisal of the pineapple using real estate logic, and the trick they used to get there is the fun part. They scaled it to SpongeBob himself. SpongeBob is about 2 inches tall, and so if you build the whole 3-story pineapple to that scale, the floor space works out to roughly 942 square inches. They set a price per square inch of about $26.25 as a stand-in for what Bikini Bottom land would go for. Multiply it out, and the raw structure comes to around $25,000. Then they factored in location, Conch Street being prime Bikini Bottom real estate, and the number jumped to about $600,000. See, the numbers they came up with are good, but it's considered outdated by today's economy. Especially when you remember $1 25 years ago does not go nearly as high as today. So let's fix that. Using the actual consumer price index, a year $2,000 is worth about $1.93 now. Prices have gone up about 93% since SpongeBob got that appraisal. Run that $600,000 through it, and the building alone comes out to about $1.16 million. And that was before we opened the front door. So let's go inside and start adding up everything SpongeBob owns. But first, I need to be upfront about how I'm pricing all this, because it matters. There are 2 kinds of numbers from here on out. When the show or Nickelodeon tells us something directly, I'll call it canon and mark it blue. And when I'm the one putting a price on something myself, I'll mark it orange. My appraisal, my reasoning, and my fault if you disagree in the comments. The reason I did this is because the show never tells us how much a building costs. There's a real estate office in town, Bikini Realty, and not once does anybody say a price. But if a Krabby Patty is around $1.99, a hospital visit ran 15 to 20 grand, shoes at the Bikini Bottom Mall for $149.99, those all feel like normal early 2000s American prices, which tells us Bikini Bottom basically prices roughly the same dollars as we do. So I'll price the stuff inside using real early 2000s prices, then run them through that same inflation multiplier, so every today number is consistent. That being said, the front door is open. Let's go room by room, starting with where SpongeBob spends most of his life. The living room, where weirdly almost nothing is a normal object. The centerpiece is the iconic inflatable couch, which, sure, of course SpongeBob owns an inflatable couch. Next to it is an armchair using an actual life ring as the cushion. There's a snail clock shaped like Gary, a conch shell that works as a telephone, and a television built into a deep-sea diving helmet. The closest real-world cousin to that is the JVC Videosphere, a genuinely real space-age TV from the 70s that today's collectors actually pay for. None of it's expensive. It's nautical clutter at best. Add the whole room up and you're at about $900 in old money. Call it $1,800 today. Except there's a catch. In Jellyfish Jam, we find out SpongeBob owns a sound system, an enormous one to be precise. This thing has separate floor speakers powerful enough to shake the entire pineapple for 18 hours straight. And keep Squidward awake all night, plus rotating disco lights. That rig alone is worth around $750, which nearly doubles the room, and that makes the living room cost about $3,250 today. Which is funny enough because, as you'll see later, these kind of things will repeat for almost every single room in this pineapple. Watch it happen again immediately in the kitchen. SpongeBob's kitchen is a masterclass in frugal living. His cabinets are wooden crates. His sink is a bucket with a faucet jammed in it. His countertops are surfboards, and his dining table is a plank of wood balanced on a beach ball, which is a physics problem waiting to happen. All of that improvised stuff costs almost nothing. You could even say that SpongeBob got it all from the surface world waste. But then two real appliances walk in and carry the whole room. A full-sized custom refrigerator worth around $1,250 and a proper Dutch-style oven at about $680. Each one is worth more than the entire rest of the kitchen combined. All in, the kitchen comes out to about $5,200 today. Now, if we go upstairs, we will get a different story than the previous two, since the next room is expensive all the way through. This is arguably the biggest room in the entire house. It takes up the entire second and third floors, and according to Nickelodeon's own encyclopedia, it holds, quote, many shelves containing thousands of books. Thousands. So let's be conservative and say 1,500. At maybe $12 a book, that alone is $18,000 in books. We can even see some of the titles. There's one called Memories of T.S. Halibut, one called Cooking Without Salt, and my personal favorite, Head Shrinking for Beginners. So at least some of this collection is just SpongeBob teaching himself to shrink heads. And then we could add the fireplace, the brown couch, a reading chair that's chained to the ceiling by a fishing hook for reasons no one explains, and a portrait of what seems to be one of SpongeBob's ancestors, and the library. Before we get to the one weird object in the corner, is already the most expensive room in the house by a mile. About $42,000 today, and we haven't even touched the instrument. Here's where it gets complicated. There's a real discrepancy in the canonical sources. According to the main Encyclopedia SpongeBobia article on SpongeBob's house, it calls it a huge pipe organ. But the library-specific article says it's a piano that sounds like an organ, and lists multiple episodes where it appears. A piano which can make multiple kinds of sounds would cost around $3,500. But if it's actually a pipe organ, it would cost him a whopping $40,000. Does this mean SpongeBob enjoys gospels? I guess SpongeBob does have a music taste after all. Now, just sit with that. Nickelodeon's own valuation put the raw pineapple structure at about $25,000. So if that's a real pipe organ, this single instrument is worth more than the entire building it's standing in. A $40,000 organ inside a $25,000 house. so I'm not going to resolve it. I'm going to do what any honest appraiser would do when the records contradict each other. Give you both numbers, and let SpongeBob's questionable taste in gospel instruments stay an open case. Library total without the instrument, $21,860 in the early 2000s, about $32,000 today. With the pipe organ, $61,860 in the early 2000s, around $97,000 today. With the piano version, $25,360 early 2000s, and about $37,500 today. The rest of the house, thankfully, is less philosophically complicated. SpongeBob has referred to this as his state-of-the-art weight set. Yeah, it is a metal bar with stuffed animals on the ends. There's a box of spare stuffed animals, a giraffe, a moose, an elephant, some teddy bears, which we can round out to about $250 with the bench in those days, that he can swap weights in when he wants to change the resistance. There are also ceiling suspension trainers and a hanging medicine ball scaling up to 115. I guess this is the kind of strength he needed to become the world's greatest fry cook. It's by a wide margin the cheapest room in the house, about $700 today. Now, let's move on before I start feeling bad about the moose. SpongeBob's bed is 3 white mattresses held together by bamboo sticks with a green buoy attached and no bed frame. Above it, installed into the ceiling, is a residential diving board with a ladder, which SpongeBob uses to launch himself into bed. Why? Just for the love of the game, I guess. But it does launch his expenses an extra $520. The room also has the iconic foghorn alarm clock resting on a barrel, priced against antique maritime foghorn auction values starting at $180. There's Gary's food bowl, a toy treasure chest, a scallop known as Sally kept in a birdcage as a pet, assuming that he bought her, a giant calendar, and a closet full of square pants. I think we can round those to $440. So the bedroom total is about $3,250 today. As for the toilets, it's actually the premium item in here, with it being a proper high-end fixture. The shower has a bamboo curtain instead of glass or vinyl, which might cost around $640. There's a porthole window. Of course, there's a window in his bathroom. Why wouldn't there be one? $140. I guess taking 20 baths a day gets really boring at one point. I don't even know how he got the time to do 20 baths a day, but that's a conversation for another day. Bathroom, about $2,700 today. The laundry room only appears in one episode, to SquarePants or not to SquarePants, but it's clearly established. It has washing machines, the fandom wiki actually says machines, plural, possibly 2 units, a laundry basket full of SquarePants, and detergent bottles. Now, I can't pin down an exact real-world match, but 2 machines safely run $800 to $900, and the basket and detergent maybe $35 more. So the laundry room's about $1,800 today, and quietly confirms SpongeBob owns enough identical pants to need industrial laundry capacity. A laundry basket and bottles of detergent would be around $35 collectively. 2 things live in the garage, a unicycle and the reef blower, SpongeBob's leaf blower equivalent, which has the distinction of being the star of the literal first episode of SpongeBob ever made. A silent short where he uses it exclusively to ruin Squidward's morning, together about $500 today. In Big Pink Loser, Patrick opens this closet and an avalanche of trophies falls out. It's described as filled to the brim with SpongeBob's awards. Conservatively, 75 trophies at $20 each, about $1,500, or $2,900 today. The man has Employee of the Month himself into what is structurally a hazard. There's also a confirmed room just called The Gallery in the hallway between the library and the bathroom, and the show never once establishes what's in it, so I can't price it. It's an empty line on the appraisal, a genuine blank in the floor plan. If you know what's in SpongeBob's gallery, the comments are right there. Because Nickelodeon apparently doesn't. Okay, let's add up a cartoon pineapple to the dollar, which is a sentence I can't believe I'm saying seriously. Everything inside the house, every crate cabinet, every stuffed animal dumbbell, all 1,500 books, the trophies, the foghorn, the party speakers, comes to about $69,000 today if that instrument's a piano, or about $140,000 if it's really a pipe organ. Now add the building. Nickelodeon's own $600,000 run through real inflation, about $1.16 million. Put it together, if it's the piano, SpongeBob's house is worth about $1.23 million. If it's the pipe organ, about $1.3 million. So SpongeBob's house is worth somewhere right around $1.2 to $1.3 million, which means that famous $18 million figure off by more than 15 times. But that's still not the craziest part. What's even crazier is that SpongeBob somehow bought one of the nicest homes on one of the best streets in Bikini Bottom while working as a fry cook. It's the fact that SpongeBob somehow managed to buy beachfront property on the most desirable street in Bikini Bottom before the housing market went completely insane. Not to mention, he's also surrounded by a city full of people who somehow never get talked about. We know everything about SpongeBob, Patrick, and Squidward, but what about the fish living across the street? The people showing up at the Krusty Krab every other day? The crowd who shows up for 2 seconds and then disappears into the background? If Conch Street is valuable enough for a fry cook to own $1 million home, then who exactly are all the other people living there? That's a question I ended up going down a surprisingly deep rabbit hole trying to answer. And that's exactly what we did last time, meeting the forgotten background characters of Bikini Bottom and finding out who's been living around SpongeBob this whole time. I'll see you on the next dive.